What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with what's next for Charles Oliveira following UFC RIO win. There was no shortage of people who expressed concerns when it was announced that Charles Oliveira was going to compete at UFC RIO. But not only did Oliveira emerge from the card unscathed, he added more stats to the record book. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Oliveira faced noted grappler Mateusz Gamrot in the headliner, who, leading up to the card, said he would welcome a ground match. Gamrot took Oliveira down not long into the fight, but immediately he was put on the defensive thanks to Charles' nasty guard. Gamrot battled through multiple submission attempts, but in round 2, it was Oliveira who took the fight down. It wasn't long before Gamrot found himself in serious trouble, and eventually, Charles sunk in a fight-ending choke. With the submission victory, Oliveira extended his record for most submissions in UFC history to 17, and his record for most finishes to 21. So what's next for Oliveira? Since he was coming off a brutal knockout loss to Ilia Topuria in June, obviously a title shot isn't in the picture. It was because of that loss that many people were worried about Oliveira returning to action so soon. But in his post-fight interview, Oliveira proceeded to call for a fight with the BMF champion, Max Holloway. After the call-out, Holloway went live and called the fight a fun one for the UFC White House event. He also talked about his hand injury, saying it's getting better and is waiting to get cleared for contact work.
I know, bro. I know already. I see the chat. We know, bro. We hear, bro. We heard the call out. Tell him. Only time will tell now, bruh. Type of fight, the White House? That's so long to wait. It'd be such a long wait, you know what I mean? Ain't making no promises, though. It'd be a fun one. And we've been talking about this fight. Me and him have a history. He's blaming it on some type of injury. I guess we get to figure it out now. Huh? My hand is good. Not good. My hand is getting better. And we're just waiting to get cleared. I haven't really got back on the mats yet. I've been doing some strength and conditioning, but that's about it. We'll be back sooner than later. So
during the post-fight presser, Charles Oliveira reacted to Max Holloway's comments, saying, "It can be at his house. If it's not in Brazil, it could be anywhere in the world. I don't think the UFC will do an event in Hawaii. I don't want to wait for the White House. March is perfect. It's a perfect fight." So it looks like these two are seriously getting ready for a fight. As we're on the topic of Oliveira, he also talked about wanting the UFC to host an event in Brazil, headlined by himself and Alex Pereira. "We need to have a numbered event in Brazil in a stadium, and you guys already know who's going to be the main event. I'm going to be the guy that sells. If we do a fight in a stadium, the main event needs to be Charles do Bronx. We deserve it." Alex Pereira confirms broken foot and talks about UFC White House return. After Alex Pereira quickly took care of business at UFC 320, he reported he was concerned about the state of his foot. Well, now the light heavyweight champs confirmed that he indeed broke his foot in the process of taking out Magomed Ankalaev. During a recent Q&A with fans ahead of the UFC's card in Rio, Pereira discussed the injury as well as his desire to compete at the UFC's White House card. "I did an X-ray in Las Vegas and an MRI here, and we have a fracture on my foot, but I still don't know what will happen or how long it will take for me to recover. I think it's good to focus on this White House. It's something that interests me. I think I'll focus on this." So due to the injury and what Pereira said, it certainly sounds like we may not see the feared striker in action until next June. The White House card is planned for June 14th. That's a whopping 9 months with no Poatan fight. That's going to be rough for fans. Pereira was also asked about the possibility of fighting John Jones at this event. The Brazilian star said this: "This is MMA. Those who know my work, I always say in my interviews that you either win or lose, but I'll do my best and prepare myself well to come out with the victory." Now, as you likely know, since UFC 320, Ankalaev's camp has released footage to report that he broke ribs approximately 3 weeks from the event. Not surprisingly, Pereira was asked to comment on this at the Q&A, and here's some of what he had to say. "I can't know, but if it was already injured, it hurt even more with the elbows. You can't give excuses. I had 1,000 excuses to say, but waited to say when we were about to fight again. They're already giving away excuses to maybe take away my merits. I don't know." While there's been a lot of talk since UFC 320 about Pereira fighting Jones, Khamzat Chimaev reportedly called for a fight with the light heavyweight king as well. Beneil Dariush recently sat down with Helen Yee, and when asked to comment on Chimaev's call-out, he said this: "I'd actually like to see him go fight a big fight like the John Jones fight or something. He's 38, and he is maybe considering retiring. I don't want him to get mauled by Khamzat. I really want to see Pereira ride off into the sunset with a big fight, big paycheck." And when asked further about why he sees Chimaev defeating Pereira, Dariush reported, "Absolutely, I would favor Khamzat against Pereira. The way Khamzat wrestles is very different from the way Ankalaev wrestles. Ankalaev seems to employ almost a Greco style, more body locks. He doesn't commit so much, Khamzat completely commits, completely turns the corner. He's able to get on your back. He's able to do so much more. Ankalaev doesn't have that kind of wrestling. What's next for Deiveson Figueiredo following UFC RIO? A lot of people believed Montel Jackson had the stage set to become a top contender in the UFC's bantamweight division on Saturday. But Deiveson Figueiredo and his well-rounded game shut the door on Jackson joining the title shot mix for now. Heading into UFC RIO, Jackson was a considerable favorite on the betting lines to beat Figueiredo. After all, Jackson had won 6 in a row, and he's a considerably larger man than the former flyweight champion. But Figueiredo was able to take Jackson down a couple of times and threatened with sub-attempts. And when the fight was standing, Montel was hesitant to fire shots. Although the bout was pretty close, Deiveson emerged with a split decision win. So what's next for Figgy? After the bout, he made it clear he wants to fight the reigning bantamweight king, Merab Dvalishvili. But considering Figueiredo was coming off back-to-back losses to Peter Yan and Corey Sandhagen, it seems kind of unlikely that the UFC will go that route. Even though Deiveson is one of the few top-ranked bantamweights Merab has not already defeated. However, with all that aside, Merab did tweet at Deiveson Figueiredo after his win on social media by writing the following: "Congratulations, Deiveson Figueiredo. Great performance against a top opponent. I'm waiting for you." Figueiredo reacted to the call-out by appreciating Merab and saying he's ready for the two to fight. Michael Bisping wants to see Alexander Volkanovski fight Merab Dvalishvili. It remains to be seen who Alexander Volkanovski and Merab Dvalishvili will fight next, but Michael Bisping has an idea. Why don't the champions square off against each other? Merab is coming off a dominant decision victory over Corey Sandhagen to defend his bantamweight crown, while Volkanovski reclaimed the featherweight belt in April by defeating Diego Lopez via decision. There's been talk about Merab fighting Peter Yan or Alex facing the likes of Lerone Murphy or Movsar Evloev, but as noted, nothing is booked. Well, during a recent video that went up on his YouTube channel, the Count, Michael Bisping, proposed this: if everyone's going to jump around weight classes, if Khamzat Chimaev is going to fight Pereira, if Pereira is going to fight John Jones or Tom Aspinall, Conor McGregor can do it without defending a belt, Islam Makhachev wants to go up, Ilia Topuria wants to go up, why can't Merab Dvalishvili go up when he's beaten everyone in the top 10 pretty much? He's lapping the division. Tell me that you don't want to see a fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Merab Dvalishvili. That would be incredible. I would absolutely love to see that fight. It is an interesting idea for sure, but it doesn't sound like Merab has any intention of moving up to 145 anytime soon. And speaking of the featherweight division, the way Daniel Cormier sees it, Lerone Murphy should be next for Volkanovski. During a recent episode of Good Guy Bad Guy, DC said this: "The title shot for me is Volk versus Lerone Murphy. Then I want to do Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez. Do you remember when Lopez and Rodriguez were fighting when they weren't supposed to fight each other? They were fighting at press conferences and stuff. It's so personal between these two that they could fight. And people would pay attention because of the history, but it could also matter because a win could potentially make them the #1 contender." And while talking about Evloev's title shot prospects, Cormier proposed the throwdown with the rising contender Youssef Zalal. Here's the problem with Movsar Evloev, because he's not known. I would do Evloev versus Zalal. Then you'll say you left out number 5 Aljamain Sterling. I would do Evloev versus Zalal because Zalal is a guy who's on that big run. If he beats Evloev, he really puts himself in the place. But if Evloev beats him, let's just move him into the title fight. You can't deny a guy that's won that many times. What do I do with Aljo? He sits as that backup fighter. UFC updates. Recently, Marcel Dorff reported that welterweights Charles Radke and Daniel Frunza are going to throw hands at the UFC's November 1st Fight Night card in Vegas. Radke is looking to get back on track after he was stopped by Mike Mallet in May. Frunza is also coming off a loss, as his fight with Reese McKee in April was stopped by the doctor. Mark Volotkin was a bloody and bruised mess after his epic war with Adrian Luna Martinetti in the latest Dana White's Contender Series card. By Volotkin's reporting, he wants to return to action in December. Although Volotkin lost the fight with Martinetti by a unanimous decision, he was awarded a UFC contract by Dana, since the fight was one of the greatest the show has ever had. Seriously, if you haven't seen it yet, you should change that immediately. Since then, Volotkin spoke with MMA Junkie. While discussing how he's doing, the bantamweight said this: "My face is not clean, not good. This hurt bad, but inside, I'm feeling the best feeling in my life. I took this opportunity and now it's time to turn the page on my career." And when talking about who and when he wants to fight next, Volotkin shared this: "For now, I just care about my health. I go to recover, I'll start training, and I want to make fight in winter. I want to make this debut, and I have one opponent, Hector Sosa from Spain. He was on Dana White's Contender Series also. I want to fight against him. We're both debut guys. He fought against my teammate, my brother, Bilal Tipsayev, and he won. That's why I want to check how he is, and I want to fight with him, but I don't care. I can fight with anyone." And Ronda Rousey continues to drive some serious hype that she's preparing for an MMA return. Not only has the former champion been posting videos of her training, Rousey has reported that she's loving MMA once again. In her latest video post, Rousey showcased some nice hand speed, as well as some nasty throws. UFC 322 is just over a month out, and the promotion has released the card's official poster. As you can see, it features headliners Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev, as well as co-headliners Valentina Shevchenko and Weili Zhang. What do you think of the poster? Jiri Prochazka not happy with Magomed Ankalaev. Jiri Prochazka is driving for another fight with Alex Pereira after dropping draws throughout the MMA universe at UFC 320. But Jiri's made it clear he has some serious issues with Magomed Ankalaev. Prochazka ensured he remains in the title shot mix at the recent event by storming back to take Khalil Roundtree Jr. out in the third round. A little while later, Pereira reclaimed the light heavyweight title by quickly taking out Ankalaev. Cameras captured Prochazka getting emotional after witnessing Pereira's win. Since then, Prochazka has reported he hopes the UFC taps him for another title shot. He's also relayed in interviews that he's far from a fan of Ankalaev on account of statements that were made about him via social media. Case in point, Jiri recently told Holma Fight this.
Man, right now I really don't care about Ankalaev because, like I said, he wrote some about me and he wrote some bullshit on the Twitter. Then he faced me and he said he acts like there is nothing between us, like no bad blood or nothing. So I just didn't understand that, and so I believe that all his tweets is work from someone else, but he have to understand that there is a responsibility.
So it'll be interesting to see if the UFC looks at booking the former champions to fight, even if neither man is calling for the bout right now. Breaking: UFC 323 main event leaked during broadcast. Last night, after Michael Aswell defeated Lucas Almeida, Michael was speaking in his post-fight interview when he accidentally leaked that Alexander Pantoja will fight his quote best friend Joshua Van at UFC 323 in December. According to Michael, that fight is announced already, although it isn't, and he wants to be on it. We're guessing Van must have told all the people close to him about the fight, and well, Michael Aswell probably wasn't thinking clearly. The MMA community called out Michael on X, with one fan writing, "Definitely not getting on that card now." Another wrote, "Dana, bring Joshua Van out here to face off with the champ." Also Dana, "How dare you leak that they're actually fighting?" Damn. LOL, Dana must be punching the air right now. Thing is, Van probably told this dude, "Okay, I'll tell you my fight date, but you gotta promise you won't tell nobody." Haha, what an idiot. If this comes out to be true, should he face consequences for leaking the fight? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. Do you think the UFC is upset at the fighter for leaking this fight? Or do you think it could be possible that the UFC is testing to see what the fans think of the matchup before they make it?